Hello everyone. Despite the fact that some animals are quite independent, they still need our help, love and care, especially when they're in trouble.
That didn't take long, did it?
Today we've prepared for you a few stories full of kindness and real sympathy. Let's take a closer look at them. Let's get it on. Catherine Van Beek from Auckland, New Zealand found a newborn kitten on the road when she was returning home after waiting out the heavy rain. According to her, at first she took the wet baby for a mouse. The kitten was so weak and small that he didn't even meow, but clung to life with all of his forces, barely crawling on a muddy path. Catherine couldn't leave the helpless baby in this situation. Very soon, the clean and dry wiped kitten was sleeping, wrapped in a towel. Catherine named the kitten Bruce after Bruce Wayne, also known as Batman. Although Van Beeks already had a cat and they weren't planning on having any more pets, Bruce the kitten immediately became a new member of the happy family. But nursing him to health wasn't easy. Even on the 12th day, he weighed little more than 100 grams. At first, Bruce was pipette fed, not only during the day but also at night. However, Catherine didn't have to set an alarm. The hungry kitten meowed, waking everyone up in the house. On the 3rd day, the family had a celebration. Little Bruce purred for the first time. Catherine surrounded the kitten with maternal care, which the poor baby somehow hadn't gotten from his mother. In order to follow the diet during the day, Catherine took Bruce with her to work, and she even managed to catch the moment when he opened his eyes for the first time. Fluffy Bruce grew bigger and stronger, and he also changed color. Soon he wasn't that tiny grey lump that Catherine had found. In the end, he turned into an active cat with beautiful black fur, resembling Batman's cloak. Today, Bruce lives happily with his loving human, and even has his own Facebook page and Instagram account. It's believed that cats are quite selfish creatures who don't like people, but only allow us to love them. Of course, each animal has its own character, but this doesn't mean that cats can't be grateful. Dealing with the devastating effects of forest fires that recently swept California, a firefighter named Ryan Coleman suddenly found a cat among the wreckage. Ryan helped the pet, and the latter immediately thanked her savior. Not with words, of course, but still, you can always tell when a feline is thanking you. The animal was so happy that she climbed on the fireman's shoulders and began rubbing against his head. Moreover, the rescued animal continued to sit on Ryan's shoulders the entire time he was looking around. Well, we hope the owners of the cat have already been found. Well, or that Ryan himself will become her new master. A poor puppy named Petrie faced many challenges in his life. His mother was a stray dog, so Petrie was raised in the mountains on the outskirts of Athens in Greece. It's unknown what exactly happened to the puppy before he was noticed by volunteers, but it was clear that Petrie was a real wild dog. The poor animal didn't know what it was to feel care and love. Petrie even bit one of his rescuers when they tried to pick him up from the mountain and take him to the clinic, but the volunteers still won, and the puppy was taken to the doctors. After careful examination, the doctors found that Petrie was suffering from ehrlichiosis and scabies. The dog was carefully washed and shaved. Frankly, after that he looked even worse, and when you look at the old pictures of Petrie, it really makes your heart shrink. For a month, the puppy was in the clinic, where he received the necessary treatment and care, but the boy needed more. Even hugs and tenderness couldn't heal his mental wounds. Fortunately, after being in the company of wonderful people and working with a professional, Petrie finally socialized and found the long-awaited happiness. In the end, from a skinny, frightened, sick dog, he turned into a handsome boy, because love is the best medicine. What do you feel when you see a lonely stray dog walking down the street? Even if you consider yourself a cat person, we bet it makes your heart sink. That was what was felt by people who noticed Bobby. He was found in the area near a railway station. All attempts to save him were in vain though. The dog escaped and was constantly risking falling in front of a train. The volunteers took a lot of time to lure the dog out, catch him and send him to a safe place. After examining the animal, rescuers found that the dog was blind in one eye, and it seems that this injury was caused by a man. The dog was immediately taken to a veterinary clinic, where he was treated. Having found a chip, the volunteers contacted the owner of the dog, but he rudely replied that he didn't want Bobby to go back home. Bobby was already an adult dog though. He needed a kind family that could accept him and provide comfortable conditions for the rest of his life. For some time, the dog was in the shelter Howl of a Dog's Care in Romania while adapting. Then he went to his new home in Delaware, where he found a real family. When Justina Strumulator and her family took home a kitten named Brownie, they did it mostly out of pity. The thing is that Brownie was a small, weak and sick little animal. No one seriously believed that this little ball of fur could live a long time. He was the smallest of his brothers and sisters and was born with a slight defect. He only had 2 pads on the left front foot, causing it to look like a claw. Soon after birth, Brownie refused to eat and began to lose weight quickly. You can probably guess how this usually ends. But Justina was not going to give up, because this little ball of fur really sunk into her heart, which means that she had to fight for Brownie's life by all means. It wasn't easy, and not only because the kitten didn't want to be nursed. It turned out that Brownie didn't have the easiest temper, but Justina, her love and care, gradually changed the cat. He put on some weight, grew stronger and nicer, and started following her master like a puppy. And then, something happened that can only be considered magic. In just one day, poof, instead of a little grumpy kitty, there was a gorgeous fluff, a fur cloud with paws. The amazing transformation took only a year. It must be some special cat magic, and lots of human love. The animal rescue organization Animal Aid Unlimited was founded in the city of Udaipur, Rajasthan, India. Its members protect animals based on the fact that every living creature has the right to be safe and free. They help thousands of homeless animals who are unable to survive on their own in the streets. After all, you can't envy the life of stray dogs and cats. They constantly feel hunger, are threatened by other animals, people, cars, plus weather conditions don't help either. Rain, cold, heat, and this is only part of the problems that homeless animals face day after day. So Indian volunteers once found a dog that most likely accidentally has fallen into resin. Could you imagine that? A dark viscous substance that's commonly used in the construction of houses and roads. When working with it, you need to be careful, and of course it should be kept away from animals. But it just so happened that the poor stray dog fell into this deadly trap. The hardened resin literally bound the poor animal's legs, so the dog couldn't even move. When Animal Aid Unlimited volunteers found him, the dog lay motionless on the ground and showed almost no signs of life. It seemed that the situation was absolutely hopeless, but the volunteers never gave up. Though it wasn't an easy task either. For 6 long hours, the people cleaned the dog's fur of resin with vegetable oil. It wasn't easy for the animal to endure this procedure. But otherwise, the young dog wouldn't have survived. On a hot day, an ordinary guy from Florida named Jeff Longo was walking down the street and suddenly noticed a tiny creature on the sidewalk. He didn't even understand what animal it was and felt confused, but soon he realized that he simply just couldn't leave the poor animal. It soon became clear that the little creature was a tiny, newborn, still blind, flying squirrel, only 3 centimeters in length. Jeff called the baby Biscuits and began to nurse her back to health as he could. When the young man posted the first photo of Biscuits on social networks, many commented that the pup was doomed and Jeff wouldn't make it because he's not a zoologist and knew nothing about animals, especially about flying squirrels. But he continued to feed her with special puppy formula, replacing maternal milk, and to warm her, as her mother would usually do. Moreover, for 2 months, Jeff carried Biscuits with him everywhere, being afraid to leave her at home for a long time, and his efforts bore fruit. The baby squirrel opened her eyes, gradually gained strength, and now she and Jeff are best friends. Just look at how Biscuits has changed. Today, the small animal still lives at her savior's house. The guy bought Biscuits her own cage, but he doesn't lock the squirrel inside, so the small forest dweller can move freely around the house. This doesn't cause any problems though, because she's very friendly to other animals and guests of her master. And despite the fact that many internet users argue against keeping wild animals in captivity, it's impossible to deny the fact that Biscuits wouldn't have survived if it hadn't have been for Jeff's help.
Psst, dude, are you looking for new technologies and great gadgets? Are your thoughts focused on the future? Do you love huge vehicles and can't imagine your life without robots around you? Then visit TechZone and you'll find all this and more. The link is in the description. You interested? Great.